There has been a steady flow, seemingly unending, of news and new developments about Supreme Court Justice Samuel Alito's compromised ethics and open support and comfort with extreme far-right causes. Now, newly released audio from progressive activist Lauren Windsor, known for approaching Republicans and conservative activists and eliciting candid comments, reveals that the other half of the Alito couple, Martha Ann Alito, very much shares her husband's grievances and her penchant for the culture wars. NBC News has not been able to confirm what edits might have been made to this audio, but we'll let you take a listen.
I'm a huge fan of your husband, and let's stop before we go here. Everything that you're going through, I just want to tell you that,
it's okay.
Yeah.
It's okay.
It's not okay, though. It's not okay.
It's okay. It's okay because if they come back to me, I'll get them. I'm going to be liberated, and I'm going to.
What do you mean by?
Oh well, there's a 5-year defamation statute of limitations.
But I don't know what you mean by gay, like
the media.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
Come on, I'll get you. Come on.
The voice is the voice of the wife of sitting Supreme Court Justice Samuel Alito, threatening the media, promising to, quote, get you, for reporting factually on the open biases that she and her husband seem to have displayed. Martha Ann did not stop there, expressing her desire to be able to openly express her hate for the LGBTQ community. Take a look.
You know what I want? I want a Sacred Heart of Jesus flag because I have to look across the lagoon at the Pride flag for the next month.
Exactly.
And he's like, oh, please don't put up a flag. I said, I won't do it because I'm deferring to you. But when you are free of this nonsense, I'm putting it up, and I'm going to send them a message every day. Maybe every week I'll be changing the flags. There'll be all kinds. I made a flag in my head. This is how I satisfy myself. I made a flag. It's white, and it's yellow and orange flames around it, and in the middle is the word vergogna. Vergogna in Italian means shame.
Comes on the heels of audio of Martha Ann's husband, sitting Supreme Court Justice Samuel Alito, talking about his belief in Christian nationalism, needing to, quote, win against the left in the struggle to live peacefully with those he disagrees with. We should note NBC News has reached out to both of the Alitos. We have not received any response. Joining our coverage is Lisa Graves. She's the executive director of the progressive watchdog group True North Research and host of the podcast Grave Injustice, highlighting the right-wing takeover of the United States Supreme Court. Also joining us, MSNBC legal analyst Christy Greenberg is back with us. She's a former SDNY Criminal Division Deputy Chief. She was with us yesterday when the first half of the audio was made public. I mean, Christy, I start with you. I mean, the cat's out of the bag there. We know from Mrs. Alito that when it comes to the flags that are hung, her belief is, quote, I'm deferring to you. So it blows out of the water Samuel Alito's cover story to Fox News journalist Shannon Bream when he threw his wife under the bus, when the first two flags, or the first flag, it was just the upside-down flag that was also flown by January 6th insurrectionists. His story when the New York Times published that photo in the New York Times to Jodi Kantor, the journalist with that scoop, was to Shannon Bream of Fox News and to say that the flags were all Mrs. Alito's idea, but Mrs. Alito telling Lauren Windsor, quote, I said I'm deferring to you, talking about Sam Alito.
I think a lot of the facts about the timeline also are facts that really should be looked at more closely. I mean, Justice Alito sent a letter to Congress and, said that at least one of the flags was being flown in response to a dispute with a neighbor. And the neighbor has come forward and said, well, look, that flag was being flown well before there was any dispute. So this should be investigated. We should be looking into this, and we should be troubled. I mean, these words from Mrs. Alito, yes, she is not a Supreme Court justice, but she lives with one. And, she should really think about spending less time flying flags and more time, actually heeding what she claims to be her religion. She's a Catholic. Well, she should learn to maybe love thy neighbor and also think about stop spewing this kind of hate. I mean, it's just so troubling to hear someone just have this kind of hate just for seeing someone flying a flag. it really tells you kind of where the level of our public discourse is in this country.
I mean, Lisa Graves, it also tells you about the radicalization of the households that possess, at least one of the 9 human beings who make up the Supreme Court. I walk into 30 Rock and it's Pride Month, and I don't think twice of, and I feel good about seeing the flags on the plaza and the decals on the window. And the idea that what Justice Alito's wife sees is something so odious to her that we shouldn't let that bigotry and hatred, if that view prevails, if that view is sanctioned, if that view is normalized, we roll our country back 50 years. That view is odious. And that view embodies another moment in time. It is not the world we live in today, where marriage equality is the law of the land, where upward of 70% of Americans believe it should be, where bigotry and bias and hatred towards same-sex marriage and same-sex couples was, I think most people thought, something that they could look at as the past. Not only is it the present, it is the cause. It is the thing that makes her stare across a lagoon and feel such hatred. She has made up a new flag, one that spells the word shame, that she would like to fly.
It really is extraordinary. And I think you put it beautifully, Nicole. These are signs of progress in our country, that people can live and marry the person they love, that we can have equality respected. But here you have a Supreme Court justice's wife who is acting with such aggression and such hostility. And it's not just that hostility toward the pride flag, but it is this unity with these flags that were flown by people challenging and trying to overturn the 2020 presidential election, and that were flown on January 6th as the Capitol was attacked during that insurrection. And so I think what you have here in terms of Justice Alito, quite frankly, is clearly under the federal recusal statute, he should recuse himself from any case involving January 6th. Under the federal recusal statute, which has been on the books for decades, it applies to justices, and it says when there's a reasonable belief that a justice will be biased in their ruling, they shouldn't rule. And I would extend that actually beyond January 6th. In terms of his role in rolling back our reproductive rights, and also it just I think it bears mentioning that Justice Thomas also should not be sitting on these January 6th cases, but also in that Dobbs decision he called out that next on the chopping block were basically gay rights and access to contraception. And so these justices are certainly imposing their personal views, and both Justice Thomas and Justice Alito have engaged in and acted with hostility towards people's fundamental rights of human dignity in their effort to impose their personal views. And the flags are symbolic of that. I guess I would just say that shame flag that Mrs. Alito designed in her head, in some ways, I think that shame flag is really flying over the U.S. Supreme Court right now, because what's happened to this court, the corruption of this court, the scandal that has engulfed this court is truly shameful.
It's such a good point. Ian Millhiser made a fantastic point that Alito's already speaking in his own dissent. This is his dissent, and then I have to sneak in a quick break, but we'll be back with much more. This is Alito's own words. Today's decision in Obergefell will be used to vilify Americans who are unwilling to assent to the new orthodoxy. In the course of its opinion, the majority compares traditional marriage laws to laws that denied equal treatment for African Americans and women. The implications of this analogy will be exploited by those who are determined to stamp out every vestige of dissent. I assume that those who cling to old beliefs will be able to whisper their thoughts in the recesses of their homes, but if they repeat those views in public, they will risk being labeled as bigots and treated as such by governments, employers, and schools. I suppose on that front, Samuel Alito might have been right. Quick break for us. We'll be right back.